Welcome to the Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by COOLBET Canada.
Props and parlays Saturday with the Lock Shop. Nielson and Huss back with you once again. Hopefully your weekend is off to a great start. The Lock Shop, part of the Nielsen Media COOLBET Network. And if you've not yet signed up for an account, make sure you do so. COOLBET.com. Enter the code LOCKSHOP when you sign up. Nice little deposit bonus for you up to $200. You get 100% of what you deposit there. And hey, if you're watching on the live stream on Twitter or on listening to the podcast, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're over about 130 or 330 members now. When we hit 1,000, we're going to give away $1,000 to one of our first 1,000 members. So we've got that going for us. Huss over in Qatar still, getting ready. Lots of action on the World Cup, and huge match coming up between Canada and Croatia tomorrow.
Oh man, it's gonna be wild. I mean, I'm still shaken and frustrated from the Belgium game earlier this week. But man, what an experience it was. And we got out of that stadium and it was like, I cannot wait to get to the next stadium and this game against Croatia. Huge stakes for Canada. We have to get a result to stay in the mix going into the final game against Morocco. But considering the way that the Canadians played, I think there's a lot of hope on it. That being said, John Herdman has really stirred it up. The Croatians aren't too happy. It is a big story going into this game. But hey, bring it on. Be a hell of a Sunday. You got Winnipeg time, I believe, 10 a.m. So that would be 9 a.m. in Edmonton.
That's right.
And then right out of that game into kickoff for the noon slate of games in the National Football League. And it is going to be a lot of fun. Speaking of the soccer, though, Jake and I have been cranking out the Doha double each and every day, a boosted parlay based on a couple of games. The one for tomorrow's game will probably have almost like a same game parlay, like two things. We're going to work on that tonight for it. But the bottom line is check the COOLBET exclusives. That's where you're going to find the Lock Shop partner parlay that we're just about to tell you about. And we'll also have the Doha double. So check that out. Certainly we'll have one for the Canada game. Depending on what time you're seeing today's show, you might have time to get in on it. We usually try and do it for the two later games. So if the third game hasn't started yet today, by the time you're watching this, get on over to the COOLBET exclusives and ride with us if you like.
We've got some parlays coming up in the National Football League on Sunday, some touchdown scores as well, and we're trying to make it 2 weeks in a row with the partner parlay. After hitting it last week, you can find this, as I said, in the COOLBET exclusives. And here's what we're looking at. Plus 530. I think it was about plus 467, and we got the bump up to plus nice. 530. If anybody was listening, if you haven't watched our Best Bets episode, you can find that on the podcast feed. You can find it over on the YouTube channel. It'll be in its own category there, Best Bet Fridays. We like Washington. We're both on Washington -4 here, Huss. So we moved it down for parlay purposes to 2.5, and now I feel really good about it.
Well, and you know what? I mean, if we're, Uncle Patty and the gang are going to give us a bit better number, it gives us the opportunity on this partner parlay to maybe, I don't want to say cheat at all, but, kind of go over a key number like 3 on games that we think might be close. And that's a big part of those first 2 right now. So, I mean, it's been very successful for us so far. Certainly we had the win last week. We'll hopefully keep that going. And listen, I think Washington has all the momentum right now. If it wasn't for that ill-timed pick we talked about yesterday by Heineke to Harrison Smith in that Vikings game, we'd be talking about a team on a 6-game heater right now. They're going up against Atlanta. Listen, Atlanta did a lot of great things early on this season, but they didn't, I think, have the roster that you would have expected to hang with some of the more top teams. And I'm not saying the Commanders have been a top team, but honestly, they've been playing like it. Just ask the Eagles and what they did to them in Philly on Monday night a couple weeks ago. So this number is 4 right now, but at 2.5, I really like it. I mean, even if we're talking about late, a tie game, a game that goes into overtime, we've still got a good chance of covering it if they can win by a field goal. And I do like that one. I may as well continue. We'll get to your second pick in a minute. I'm going to take the Bears. We kind of rolled that out yesterday. I've had a lot of success, and I think everyone's had success taking underdogs this year. And, as bad as the Chicago record is, and I know people are getting on Justin Fields, who's, has been hurt. We've heard about it, what he's dealing with right now. what he's doing with his legs and just the offense of the Chicago Bears has been, a real eye-opener lately. And of course, they're going up against the Jets, who benched Zach Wilson. Mike White's coming off the bench. I mean, he didn't even start when Wilson wasn't in the game earlier this season.
Yeah.
It was Joe Flacco. So if we're going to get 6 points for the Bears, I realize the Jets defense is awesome, but I do think that Justin Fields, even just with his legs, will be able to move the football enough. They can get a few field goals, maybe get one in and keep this game close. This should, in all likelihood, be a very low-scoring game. So if we're going to get 6 points for the Bears, like they haven't been winning, but they've always been close, and they've been covering the numbers. They were part of the winner last week for me. So I'm going to take the Bears +6 in this game against the Jets, and Mike White, their third-string quarterback, getting the start this week.
And then we're throwing the Chargers in here, moving the number to 2.5. Haas, you mentioned in your email or a text earlier that it's one of the other games that you didn't mind. And I think we're probably both on the same page here. The classic fade the Cardinals scenario here. Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the Cardinals, we'll see. I mean, if Kyler Murray's in, which I think he probably will be after missing the last couple weeks, they'll have a bit better of an opportunity to stay in it. But listen, the Chargers, they were right there. I felt really bad for Justin Herbert. Well, as bad as a Chiefs fan can feel going up against the Chargers with what happened on Sunday night. And thanks again to Patrick Mahomes. You're always there for me, man. I was in my darkest hour after the Bombers lost in the Grey Cup, and watching that second half and what he did at the end of the fourth quarter, even as down as I was, I went to bed with a big smile on my face. But hey, I think Herbert in some ways probably deserved a better fate. Well, guess what? Patrick Mahomes isn't on the other side of the field this week. It's the Arizona Cardinals. And, the one thing the Chargers have done this year, even when they haven't played very well, is they've actually won games. Like their record probably flatters them right now, but they're still very much in the mix, in the middle of it. So I don't think Arizona's going anywhere right now. And if we can get it under 3 to 2.5, I really do like the Chargers' chances of covering that 2.5 and winning by 3 points, if not more. So I'm definitely riding with that. And as I said, when we're talking about a parlay, that if you put it in yourself, is probably in and around 460, 465. We're getting it to plus 530. So in some ways, we're getting a couple free half points, and we're using them in very important spots, with Washington and Arizona getting it to 2.5 as opposed to 3.
Once again, partner parlay, plus 530. Find the COOLBET exclusives. Find exclusives on the left side of the website. Click on it, and you'll see a bunch of stuff going on over in Qatar right now. They're still mixing in some hockey exclusives as well, and you'll find the Lock Shop partner parlay in there as well. As for other parlays, let's dive into those right now here on Props and Parlay Saturday with the Lock Shop. And last week I hit 2 that were plus 500 or better. Dialing it back a little bit this week, but kind of follow along the same strategy. Last week, I had a money line parlay hit, and I also had an adjusted totals parlay that hit. So I'm going to adjust a few totals or take some team totals here. I could be a plus 308 parlay. Denver, Carolina, probably on the radar as most boring game of the week. Under 39.5. So I've bumped that up a little bit. I think it's sitting at like 37 right now or something. So I bumped that up to 39.5. You mentioned Chicago and the Jets should be a low scoring game. Bumped that up to 42. Took the under. And then Miami's at home against the Texans. The Dolphins at home are absolutely amazing. So I'm going to go Miami over 29.5 against the Texans, who'll be out in that sunshine on the far side of the field, while the Dolphins and their offense cruising in the shade. I almost consider Miami minus 14 for one of my best bets. But that's just such a huge number. That's just such a huge number. So I decided I think Miami's going to score points. So let's go. And they hit for me last week in this same bet. So Miami over 29. Bears and Jets under 42, and Denver, Carolina under 39.5, plus 308. And then just a simple money line parlay. Washington, Baltimore, San Fran, and the Chargers, all to win. 4-gamer, plus 359 to try to make it back-to-back money line parlays hitting here.
Yeah, back-to-back hitting both. I mean, that was
that'd be nice.
Glad
That'd
you
be real
started
nice.
it off, because to use a golf analogy, you certainly have the honors when it comes to the parlays after what you were able to do last week. Those were 2 bangers, and pretty awesome to get them both in. we've talked a lot about these games over the course of the last couple of episodes with the best bets, and now we're here. And I think some of these theories of what we used in the partner parlay, I've started used in putting these ones together. I like Washington. They're one of the best bets. 4 is the number. We've got this at minus 2.5. Again, moving it on the other side of 3, I think gives me a much better feeling that, if this game goes according to plan, even if it's close and we might not get there on the 4, we'll be able to, get in with a 3-point win and make sure that it doesn't kill the parlay. I've actually adjusted the Bears line the other way. The Bears line is at 6. And again, we just talked about it at 6. It's at 6 in the partner parlay. I actually moved it down to 4.5 because for the same reason of these other games, I do kind of think this game is going to be close. Now, 4 is a key number as well. But, if you just take it at 4.5, or at least when I did it, it was plus 110. And I figured if I'm going to be taking from Washington and Philly on those sides and caking some points, I don't know, maybe I'm too high on the Bears this week, but I definitely felt like I had a bit of a cushion to make that and get the number up higher. So Chicago plus 4.5 for the purposes of this parlay. And then we're going to take the Eagles, but we won't take the full number. We'll get it down to 3.5 to win by 4 or more. And I'm not sure. I mean, if get it to 2.5, I don't even think that was actually available when I put this together. But a much better number for Philly. Philly had that, close call last week against the Colts after getting worked by the Commanders on Monday Night Football. But I do think they bounce back, and I just don't think that, the Green Bay, frankly, has the talent right now with what they're throwing up, regardless of the condition of Aaron Rodgers, to hang with the Eagles. But it could be closer than people think. That's why we're taking it to minus 3.5. So Eagles minus 3.5, Commanders minus 2.5, and we're going to take 4.5 points plus with the Bears. That one comes up to plus 441. And then one of the other picks that I do like, and I know you're on the other side, but the Raiders plus 3.5.
You're a dangerous guy with these Raiders.
Yeah, I like them this week. I just think that they have a bit of momentum right now, coming off a big overtime win. I think Carr is playing really well right now, and I think he's in a lot of ways sort of he and Devontae Adams putting his team on his back. When Seattle wins, wouldn't surprise me at all, but I think they'll hang in it and be close. We're getting plus 3.5, so we're going to take the Raiders on that. And yes, then a couple 3-point spreads. We're going to take the extra half. Tampa minus 2.5. And the Chargers minus 2.5. Interesting of this Tampa-Cleveland game. We haven't really talked too much about that. Cleveland, of course, I believe this is the last game of Jacoby Brissett before we'll get Deshaun Watson back in week 13. Of course, he had the 11-game suspension. You put the bye week in there as well. So I'm not sure what we'll see from that Cleveland defense. Cleveland offense. Certainly they'll be trying to run the football, and that will be key for the Buccaneers. But I think ever since Tom Brady's announced the divorce, he's sort of been better. I think he's a little freer right now. And, they had a couple big wins. They still got to keep it going right now. I like them to win. And we just sort of went over the Chargers situation. We go from 3 down to 2.5 and still get this one in excess of 5-1. So Raiders plus 3.5 and then laying 2.5 on both the Bucs
a big number.
And the Chargers.
That 5's a big number, buddy. I like that.
Well, I mean, you know what? I had to get it to 5 after you banged 2 of them last week. So, you know what? Let's see if we can make it happen.
I'm going to sprinkle this plus 501. That way, if the Raiders screw me, I can still make something off it. I don't have to bet on straight up. Take them in the parlay here, and that would work. All right, let's wrap up with a few touchdown scores for Sunday's action, Week 12 in the National Football League. Huss, where are you going here? I like this.
You know what? I got a couple more Spuros. Well, listen, this goes back to that Monday game. If you watched what the Commanders were able to do against the Philadelphia defensive front, which has been awesome this year, I think you realize that, their running game is really gaining some momentum. And I don't think they want to put it on the shoulders or the arm of Taylor Heineke. I think Brian Robinson Jr. is going to have plenty of opportunities, and in and around the goal line, he is the guy that can carry dudes and I think can get in. I love that. When I saw he was at plus 138, I jumped on it right away. I think that there's great value there, and I don't think we're going to be seeing a number like that for him anytime soon. And then going a little deeper is Justin Watson with the Kansas City Chiefs. Listen, we know Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Mecole Hardman. A few of those guys are out right now, and Watson's slowly and quietly become a pretty reliable receiver for Patrick Mahomes. They're playing the Rams. I couldn't in good conscience lay 15.5 points, which is where that number is right now. But I do think this is the opportunity, as Mahomes has been doing all season long, to spread the wealth a little bit and take care of some of the less heralded players that maybe haven't been getting as many looks. I think he gets a few this week, and I think he gets the opportunity for a touchdown. So Watson at plus 188, unheralded Chiefs receiver, is my other touchdown pick for the week.
And I mentioned on Friday's show about Green Bay and maybe their ability to run the ball against the Eagles. If that's the case, if they're going to have any success, I mean, Aaron Jones is going to have to be heavily involved. So I like Aaron Jones at plus 125 to score a touchdown. I think there's pretty decent value there at plus 125 on Aaron Jones. And then the other one I'm going to go, it's very interesting. Miami, Houston. I like Miami to score a bunch of points against Houston this week in Miami. And there are 3 guys who have better odds than Jalen Waddle right now. Tyreek Hill's like minus 135, and then both running backs are minus 120. So this is a value play here. I mean, Jalen Waddle's got 3 touchdowns in his last 3 games. So I'm going to go Waddle here at plus 100. But if you go look at those touchdown scores, the book is expecting a lot of points to be scored by the Dolphins. Or at least the potential for a lot of points to be scored. Yeah.
You get a touchdown. You get a touchdown.
Everybody gets one.
You get a touchdown. Everyone's getting one.
Yeah. Everyone likes it. So there's a few touchdown scores for you. And I hit both my touchdown scores last week as well. So last Props and Parlays episode was pretty solid, which was nice. That was good. All right, so that's gonna do it. Huss, how excited are you for Sunday in Qatar? Canada going up against Croatia.
It's going to be, I'm so excited. I think we forgot to mention Aaron Jones with your other touchdown pick right there. But,
I mentioned it quickly. Yes, I mentioned it quickly. We're good.
Did you? Yeah. Listen, I think it's going to be amazing. I can't even describe to you how cool it was just to be in there beforehand, singing "Oh Canada," the thousands of Canadian fans. I mean, that's what really blew me away. I knew some people from Winnipeg that were going, that were involved with the Voyageurs, and they said they were expecting maybe 2,000. There was 5,000 easy there. And said it sounded like a home game. They'll be there ready to go on Sunday. A lot of hopes, a lot of excitement. In some ways, a lot of pressure. It's going to be awesome. Check the COOLBET exclusives. In addition to the Lock Shop Partner Parlay that we talked about yesterday, we will have a Doha double. We'll probably focus in specifically on that Canada game. But we're going to do it each and every day while we're here in Qatar throughout the week. And much like we get a nice number on the partner parlay, we're getting a nice number from COOLBET on the Doha double. So hopefully we can bang out a few more winners. But the win that we need the most is Canada to get a big 3 points against Croatia Sunday morning. It's going to be awesome.
Enjoy the match, man. And we'll be back talking some Monday Night Football in a couple of days. I'll talk to you then.
Football.